Welcome back, everyone. We are now in week 2 in the series called The Blooming Womb. I hope you are enjoying my polka dotted fluffy shirt here today. This is so much fun for me, y'all. So you just have to know that when I get into word things, it gets me excited when I've never heard these kind of words before. Okay, so we only got through verses 1 and 2. Let's continue on. Do not fear, for your shame is no more. Do not be embarrassed, for you will not be disgraced. You will forget the inadequacy you felt in your youth and will no longer remember the shame of your widowhood. For your Maker is your husband. His name is Yahweh, commander of the angel armies. Your kinsman redeemer is the Holy One of Israel. He has the title Mighty God of all the earth. That's the next verse, y'all. How powerful. He says, do not fear, for your shame is no more. I'm declaring that over you right now. Do not fear, for your shame is no more. You will forget the inadequacies you felt in your youth. If you identify with that you remember things that you're still carrying on from your teen years, regrets, whatever you want to call them, shame even, he says you're going to forget them. You're going to forget it. Forget it all. Why? For your Maker is your husband. The kinsman redeemer, we heard that in the book of Ruth. Boaz was her kinsman redeemer. He was a representation of the kinsman redeemer. Now, I like that term, People say, where's your Boaz? Things of that nature. He has the title Mighty God of all the earth. When we are dealing with an earth that feels very shaky right now, very unstable, remember his name, one of his names, is Mighty God. It goes on to say, I even feel represented here. And it's talking about, and you will no longer remember the shame of your widowhood. Another thing, another woman's part of a woman's story in her chapters of her life. First, we're talking about barrenness last week. Now we're talking about widowhood. We're talking about our youth. It's hitting so many facets in the seasons of life. And it's really speaking to women. Verse 6 says, for I, Yahweh, have invited you to come back like a depressed, deserted wife. Wow. Okay, we're now here. We're now talking about this category of women, if you want to call it. Like a young wife who has experienced rejection. Okay, we've now added another storyline here. Not just a deserted, depressed wife. We're now talking about a young wife who has experienced rejection. Okay, y'all. No woman's story is off limits here. We're hitting all the hot spots. We're hitting all the shameful parts of us. I am drawing you back to me, says Yahweh. The things in your life that have pushed you back from him, from feeling worthy of his presence, he's asking you to come back. I'm drawing you back to me. He sees you. He sees your hardships. He's categorizing them all. And he's telling you that those things are not worth loss of connection and intimacy with me. I'm drawing you back to me, says Yahweh. For just a brief moment, I deserted you. But with tender feelings of love, I will gather you back to me. In a surge of anger, for just the briefest moment, I hid my face from you. But with everlasting kindness, I will show you my cherishing love, says Yahweh, your kinsman redeemer. Do you see that? This goes back into the Song of Solomon, talking about coming back. This connection. This is a chapter about connection, y'all. It's talking about circumstances that happen, and those things can bring disconnection. But the Father keeps chasing after us, coming after us, pursuing us in our story and asking us, will you keep pursuing me? To me, this is like the time when I vowed, this is now verse 9, that the waters of Noah's flood would never again cover the earth. Now I vow to you that I will neither be angry with you nor rebuke you. Even if the mountains were to crumble and the hills disappear, my heart of steadfast, faithful love will never leave you. And my covenant of peace with you will never be shaken, says Yahweh, whose love and compassion will never give up on you. This is scripture. It's a love letter. I just have to read these two verses again. To me, this is like the time when I vowed that the waters of Noah's flood would never again cover the earth. Now I vow to you that I will neither be angry with you nor rebuke you. If any of you are questioning whether God's angry at you because of something you did in your past, this, I hope, clears it up. Well, you can say, Micah, you're taking it out of context. This is in a different time. This is a living word. It's a living, breathing organism. This is spirit word. It's alive. It transcends time. It's a timeless book of the heart of God. And I believe it is just as present today to speak over you. So we will continue to tell it. Even if the mountains were to crumble, whatever your mountain in your life is, the imagery of mountains in our life and these boulders, whatever you feel like is a heavy obstacle, and the hills disappear, my heart of steadfast, faithful love will never leave you. And my covenant of peace with you will never be shaken, says Yahweh, whose love and compassion will never give up on you. So we go down to the footnotes. It says, this is the covenant of shalom that God has made with us, his people. God's covenant promise is that his shalom represents these things: peace, prosperity, success, wholeness, and well-being. When we foster a state of rest, some people call it Sabbath, that we take a day of Sabbath, that we really just rest in his presence. I really think it's a state of mind. It's a lifestyle change, if you want to call it, that we don't run around through life in survival mode, in anxious modes all the time, that we can rest in knowing that the Father has it handled. We just have to run to him and get clues along the way of life and guidance. And he will protect us. He will fight for us. There's an angel army around us protecting us. He's gone before us. He was behind us. We sing the blessing. There is songs of blessing in Scripture before Isaiah ever came to be. The promise that this shalom will be our portion all the days of the earth. And the last thing, when it says, whose love and compassion will never give up on you. The Hebrew word for compassion, racham, R-A-C-H-A-M, means to love deeply, like a mother's love. Rakim is a homonym for womb. With the implication that God's love is like the love of a mother carrying a child in her womb. It's right here, y'all. Compassion represents God's love is like the love of a mother carrying a child in her womb. Have you ever heard it said? Have you ever heard it said? Can we have compassion? The kind of compassion that the Father has for us in our story. Can we give ourselves grace? Can we give ourselves gentleness? Can we be gentle with ourselves when hard things have happened and we are guilty of doing things that we wish we wouldn't have? And we're hard on ourselves because we thought we were better than that. And we thought we should know better than that. And we should be more organized than that. And all the things that we do to thinking about all the things, trying to control our circumstance, to control the environment. As a mother hen, that we're trying to control all of our babies and protect them from all these things that we can't really control. But if you run all the scenarios long enough, then you should be able to control them. And what happens when you can't control them? And God forbid something happens to them and you could have warned them and we can't be everywhere. Do you see the anxiety that starts to take us over as a mother? Because there's not compassion for our story. And He has it for us. It's available. King Jesus is compassionate. And He wants to come into our circumstance. And I'm here to tell you that those things are where barrenness starts to begin. When we disconnect from life to keep going, to cope with life, we keep going and we just shelf another experience, shelf another disappointment, shelf another broken relationship, keep shelving these things down. I'm telling you, it's making you sick and it's making things not produce. And until we get honest, until we start to acknowledge these hurts, the shame, the rejection, abandonment, He said, you'll never be alone. He said His peace cannot be shaken from you. It's a promise. This is a chapter about promise. It's a chapter about promise. And then we keep giving it away, giving our peace away with every little thing. We give it away so easy. We have to fight to hold on to our peace. But once we realize that it's ours, then none of these things that happen to us really can take it unless we give it away. It's not the circumstance that gives it away, it's us. You say, well, if it wasn't for that, well, guess what? We live in a world full of problems. And yes, we can be problem solvers, but there's going to be a day, like I faced, that you will never be prepared for. But yet, I'm here to say that He'd been preparing me for such a day with no handbook to prepare. But then I realized He did give me one. And yes, there wasn't a page that said, flip to a heart aneurysm and find the details to your story and the tools it's going to take to get you through it. No, I didn't find that page in the directory. But I knew the Creator enough to know I didn't know further. And it didn't seem like anyone around me did either. And that's what clued me in, that I needed to run to the Father again and again and again until I could breathe again, until I could believe again, till I could see with eyes of love again, not eyes of loss, not eyes of pain, with eyes of eternity. And he gave me that as a gift. And I believe it's something for me to encourage and expose. I don't even want to say project my opinion onto you. I want to expose that there's an eternal perspective out there. There's not just a worldview, it's an eternal view. It is getting us above this ground, up into where the kingdom realm is. And I believe that kingdom realm is right here. Here and now. Let your kingdom come. Your will be done. Now, we have the opportunity to invite the kingdom into our now and watch him change it. Change us so we can walk through hard things and still have joy and still have a song in our heart and still be thankful and still be generous and have gratitude and compassion and empathy for others. It's a life worth living. There's freedom. There's excitement. There's liberty. That's what the Spirit of the Lord does when He's upon you. He breaks open and He gets rid of captivity and He liberates us beyond ourselves. So, stay tuned for part 3 of the blooming womb. I hope you'll come back next week. Bye.